All right. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Suddenly Tenno Podcast, episode 3, No Revives Necessary. Today's episode will be a double-length one, so stay tuned for that. My name is Dimitri2, and joining me today are, of course, Headshot and Frozen Balls, as per usual. This episode, we will be covering the announcements and changes made in the recently shown dev stream number 61, along with some other topics that we have prepared for today. Before we start, however, there are 3 things that I want to mention. First of all, I would like to give a massive shout out to Ubros for making us this awesome background. I think it looks absolutely fantastic, so thank you very much, Ubros. Second of all, we are planning to do a Q&A podcast soon, so if you have any questions directed to us, ask them in chat or leave us questions in the comment section, and we will be collecting and answering those questions in the next one. And thirdly and finally, it has been confirmed that Update 18 is confirmed for this year, so I would just like to get that right out of the way. Now, onto the discussions themselves. One of the first things shown in this dev stream was the Mios, a new melee weapon. New animations, we've seen the actual look of it. We haven't seen the stats for it yet, but so far, I think it looks pretty interesting. Headshot, Frozen, what are you guys' take on from what we've seen from the Mios so far? Frozen, if you would take that one off. So awkward.
What?
So yeah, I'll take this one then, since Frozen's not paying attention. The Mios itself looks absolutely it looks incredible. I love the idea of combining the whip with the sword. The attack animations that they showed look really, really, really cool. But it does look like it's potentially not going to be very many multi-strikes, so potentially it might be very single target from the animations they showed. Plus, they need to make sure the hit registration is fine on the whips, because that is something they have traditionally suffered from. But all in all, I'm very excited for it. It looks really, really cool, and it's about time that it finally makes it into the game, because it's been waiting for a long, long time at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I was looking at the actual animations for the weapons, and the way they showed the weapon, they showed it with the Rhino skin, right? The first thing I thought when I saw that skin and I saw that melee weapon was Sundowner. Anyone who's played Metal Gear Revengeance will know exactly what I'm talking about, and that's exactly what it looks like with the machete, axe, scissor sword kind of things. It looks absolutely gorgeous. In terms of the actual animations, I love the combination of the whip and the sword itself. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how you've got it's kind of like a 2-in-1 stance, isn't it? Because you've got the whip animations and the whip pulling enemies towards you, for example, like Scorpion, and then you've also got the normal sword hits as well. So I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to combine those animations together and how they're going to end up being. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, from what I've seen from the Miles, the animations seem very fluid so far, and I'm actually looking forward to that one. So yeah, well, we don't know when the Miles is coming yet, but it's in the works at least. About time, like Headshot said. On to the next thing that was mentioned in the dev stream. The Golem trial is coming this October with about a week left, so look forward to that one. One of the new things that they also mentioned is that Update 18 is going to be removing paid revives. Instead of, you start with 4 revives a day and then having to pay to buy more revives for that day. Those 4 revives will now refresh after each time you go back into your Lizette, which I personally think is fantastic. Now, Headshot, I know you've once we were watching the dev stream together, once you heard this, you were very excited for this. So, what's your opinion on it?
To be honest, it's about time that they managed to get rid of these, because all it does is punish new players. Because when you think about it, when's the last time that you actually paid for a revive? When you've got multiple frames, the revive system and the paid revives doesn't really make sense at all, because all you do is you switch onto another frame if you've got no revives left. So all it does is punish those newer players. I know the newer players have 12 revives initially, but they're not going to have the same survivability, or maybe not necessarily the skill to be able to mitigate the damage yet. So all you're doing is punishing those that are very new to the game, with a system that doesn't really actually progress any further than that very early game. So it's an absolutely fantastic thing to get rid of. It really does help out the newer players quite a lot. And it also means that, newer players don't end up having to either wait 24 hours for the revives to come back. They don't have to even spend their starting plat trying to renew their revives, which I have known some of them to do. So it's definitely a system that honestly makes no sense. In all honesty, it doesn't make DE money through Platinum, because once you have a couple of frames, it doesn't do anything anyway. So in terms of actually helping out newer players, it's definitely a massive, massive step forward.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Any other things you want to add in there, Frozen?
The only thing I would have to add on is it's not really. I think pretty much Headshots pretty much covered everything. It's really good for having, like for new players, it's really handy for them being able to revive and not being able to deal with content. At least they're not locked from the game itself. Whenever you lock, players, it's obviously not a good thing, because that means they're not playing your game. So in that sense, it's definitely a good thing. But my only concern was why it took this long for this change to come. I would personally think this was a change which should have come quite some time ago. But I guess never late, better late than never.
It's not exactly as if it's a particularly controversial change, is it? They've obviously gone back, they've looked at what is actually sort of making, or is bringing in the Platinum for them, and realised that the only Platinum incoming from this is from the newer players, which is not really the people you want to be charging for this sort of thing straight away. So, in all honesty, it made absolutely no sense to keep it. So it is about time that they got rid of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
From what I've heard from newer people coming into my streams as well, is that, in fact, some of them actually were turned away from the game because of it, because they felt like, I just used all my revives, I don't have any starting Platinum left. In order to continue playing, I would have to pay real money to continue, and they did not want to wait the 24 hours, before their revives refreshed or things like that. So they just stopped playing because of it. So I'm personally very happy as well that they're removing it for the reasons you mentioned as well. On to the next topic that was mentioned in the dev stream. We were all very excited for this one, the daily reward system overall. Now, for those of you who haven't gotten the message yet, basically, instead of, getting useless credits or, Sentinel experience or things like that from the daily reward login, what they're going to be doing is they're going to revamp the entire system. There's going to be a milestone system for every day you log in. It's not going to be consecutive anymore. It will just add on to the days you already have, so to speak. And every so often you'll earn things like blueprints for weapons you don't own yet, things like that. Discounts are staying in as well. There's going to be unique weapon skills, unique sigils for login rewards. I'm personally very excited about this. Frozen, what do you feel about this?
Mate, I absolutely love this. The daily reward system definitely needed an overhaul. Getting the same, mastery or like XP for melee weapons or secondary weapons or, primary weapons over and over, even though I've already, mastered them. As you clearly know, me and Headshot, Dimitri, we mastered these weapons. So this XP is going nowhere. It was a waste. So, getting an overhaul and, have the chance of getting something useful out of it is definitely a way forward. It's a step forward in the right direction, which is absolutely amazing. We're going to see how it's going.
Yeah, fair enough. Headshot, anything you want to add to that?
There's
no things you want to say?
Yeah, there's not really a lot to add to that, to be honest. It's definitely, they've been saying, I think, since the start of the year that they're going to be doing, in fact, it might even be longer than that, that they're going to look at these and they're going to get rid of or change the login reward system. So it's about time that they got it done, but it's definitely a change that needs making, sorry. I'm a little worried about there being unique weapon skins and sigils and stuff in the login rewards. I know it keeps people logging in again, but having more, RNG for that type of thing might just not be the right thing. But it's going to have to be, we're going to have to see how it's done, really. But other than that, it's definitely a positive change. I'm so sick of getting like Sentinel weapon XP. It's just not useful at all for anybody at this sort of level. I'd prefer getting cores or something, which was one of the other things that they mentioned. So yeah, it's definitely a fantastic change.
Yeah, exactly. Also, one of the things that they also mentioned in the dev stream that I forgot to note before was how the backtracking of it is going to work, so to speak. For the people that have already logged in, veterans of the game, some of us have been playing for like 3 years now, almost a bit longer than that. They aren't keeping track of every single day that we've spent logging in. So what they'll most likely do is, or at least that is what they were thinking of doing, is making the amount of days that you already have logged, so to speak, making it scale with master rank. So the higher master rank you are, the better your starting point will be for the daily reward system. That is what they were thinking of. Nothing's been confirmed yet, of course. It's all just speculation and, well, them just testing things out as well. But just as a heads up for the people out there as well. All right, on to the next thing that was mentioned, which is the chat and the UI overhaul. Things like private channels. I think we saw like a bit of a revamped minimap out there as well. Things like energy in the UI as well. All kinds of things like that. Hecho, how do you feel about that change? About the UI and chat changes and things like that?
The UI changes are going to have to, from a personal point of view, sort of from a colorblind point of view, I'm going to need to see more of it to see whether it's going to be any good for me. There's a whole bunch of problems with the UI at the moment in terms of like the exterminate map being red when there's enemies in the room, sort of thing, with a red enemy marker. So if they're going to overhaul the minimap, then that's something they really need to look into. So I need to see more of it before I make a decision on that. But the chat channel's about time. It looks like they're going to more of a. It almost seems like a similar way to the way EVE Online does it. With private channels and that sort of thing. So it's needed an overhaul for quite some time, the chat. Hopefully it's going to make the trade chat a lot less painful. I doubt it, but I hope it does. But it's definitely something that's needed doing for a long, long time.
I think in terms of the UI, one of the major concerns I have is, yes, they're going to be changing the UI, they're changing the chat, etc. One of the major concerns I've had as being a warlord of the alliance I'm in right now is the lack of a proper clan/alliance management system. You can't see like people who are online, for example. You can't see how active a certain clan is, for example. So these kind of things. Housekeeping is very hard, so it's very hard for me to maintain how many active clans I've got in my alliance, how many active players are in each clan, for example. So, being able to do stuff like that is another aspect of the UI which needs to be called and needs to be changed, obviously for the better, so that, there's better clan management, for example. Of course, chat tabs, and then, the whole colorblind aspect, that's also one aspect of it which needs to be dealt with appropriately as well, because if you don't make it, colorblind accessible, so to speak, then what's the point putting all that effort if you're kind of locking quite a large chunk of your player base out, essentially. That's what it comes down to, really. So I agree with you on that point. We definitely need to see a bit more in order to, get like a better, gauge a better, what's the word? Better understanding of, how well or how badly it'll play out.
All right, fair enough. So we want to see more things before we can actually form our opinion on it. Fair enough. One of the next things is a big favorite of mine as well. One of the things that I'm personally really excited for is that they were talking about the void being blown up, so to speak, as in void fissures will appear in all parts of the normal star map. Basically, what they're trying to do with this is diversify the gameplay. They want to spread out the parts, so to speak, instead of just going to the void and just collecting the parts there. They want to spread it out in a normal star map. One of the things that they mentioned during this, though, is that how rare the rare parts are going to be for some things. For example, one of our favorites, Warframe systems. They still want to keep the rare parts rare because prime access, as they put it, well, it makes them money. So they want to keep people farming for things, but also making it worth it to actually buy the prime access. I personally find it understandable. It's kind of annoying sometimes dealing with farming rare parts. It is understandable. How do you guys feel about this? Frozen, Headshot. I'll ask Frozen first. How do you feel about this, Frozen?
At first, like when I heard about the void being blown up, I was skeptical, but I think, you know what, I've kind of learned to stop being skeptical about things which DE say, mainly because last time I was skeptical, they, you know, stepped up their game really hard, and then Parkour 2.0 happened, and I'm absolutely in love with that movement mode. So more than anything else is just kind of just sitting, waiting to see what they're going to actually do with it before I, you know, judge it and see how it goes from there. But at the same time, you know, like what you said about, you know, some rare parts being rare, they have to keep it that way, because if you don't have the grind in the game, then if you can acquire everything, like, you know, by playing the game, and, you know, you get all the drops in, say, 1 hour or 2 hours, you don't have much more to do in the game. And then people are just going to be flooding the forums and Reddit and YouTube, and they'll be just like, there's nothing else to do. There's nothing else to do in this game. What do I do? Make us new content. You're not making us content. And trust me, you know, as a game developer myself, making content isn't easy. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of patience, and you have to, you have to kind of refine it over and over. So completing content is kind of easier to actually making content. So in that sense, I can understand why they kind of stretch it out, why we have the RNG that we have. But at the same time, on the other hand, I still understand the frustration of players as well, because some certain parts of the RNG can be pretty bad as well. So it comes down to how you can get like a proper balance of what you consider reasonable amount of grinding, as opposed to you know, going overboard with the grinding as well. Overall, I'm definitely looking forward to the void being blown up as well, to see, you know, how they make it and how they cut down the number of nodes there are, so that, you know, because we got about nearly 300 nodes right now, and we play barely 25 nodes at the most on the star chart. In fact, I doubt we even play 20 nodes on the star chart at this point. So reducing those number of nodes, and, you know, making it more diverse is always definitely a good step. So we'll see how they go along with that once more information is released about it.
Fair enough. Hedgehog, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't really have a huge amount to add to that, in all honesty. Frozen's put it up pretty effectively there. I am looking forward to being able to play other tile sets again. Very, very bored of the same tile sets over and over again just because of enemy level. So it'd be like things like Ceres, things like Pluto, or just the Void in general. So being able to go back to Earth with higher level content with the potential to go into the Void, that really appeals to me, because I like the Earth tile set. I like a whole bunch of them. I like Europa, but you don't play them very often. So anything that DE do in terms of bringing a system in that is going to include, you know, tile set changes, not really tile set changes, but the ability to use different tile sets to go different places, really, that resonates with me a lot, because I'm so bored of the same tile sets over and over again just because of enemy level. Other than that, I can understand their position on the rare prime parts. I still think that the longer you go into a mission, you should have more of a chance of getting the rare parts, but that, you know, I'm not convinced that's ever going to happen. Because of the reasons they said in the dev stream. You know, they've got to keep people buying things. I mean, they are a business at the end of the day. I mean, as much as we hate it, they are a business, and they do need to still be able to pay to develop the game. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say, to be honest.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I completely agree. Especially with the Prime Access part, it's understandable. The D is a company; they need to make money as well. Otherwise, we wouldn't even have Warframe. It can be annoying though, you know, farming for that one specific item with a 5% drop chance over and over again for hours on end and not getting it. It can be very frustrating at times, but at the end of the day, it is still part of the game. So I'm glad that they're gonna be removing the void, I would say, or at least changing it up, because right now 90% of the missions that I play are basically just the void over and over again. And like you guys said, I barely ever touch the normal star map anymore, other than things like alerts or maybe Triton or things like that. I barely play the normal star map anymore, and I would like to go back to some of the tile sets, like on Earth, and Jupiter is a favorite of mine as well, things like that. But at the moment, there's no reason for me to go back there. With the star map change and the void being blown up, I would love to see being able to go there and actually like do something in the game that makes sense, that feels like I'm actually like, you know, farming for things that I still need to farm in the game. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that as well.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because you started playing the game how long ago? 10, 11, 12 months ago? Something like that? And I've been playing for nearly 3 years, yeah? And you've got like twice as many hours in the void as compared to me, which is kind of ridiculous. I
Yeah.
mean, I know you definitely just spend all your days and nights in the void just farming that shit.
Yeah, I personally like playing in the void as well, but I wouldn't mind some difference every once in a while, you know, just go to the normal star map. Because yeah, I like to spend a lot of time in the void. It's my home basically in Warframe, my home away from home. I think that's about it. On to the next one. Grineer Kavat controllers. Basically, the capital grannies coming soon. Not update 18, but coming soon. I'm personally not sure whether that's before or after update 18, but yeah, from what we've seen so far, the Grineer Kavat controllers. Headshot, how do you feel about them from what we've seen so far?
They look really, really cool. They're gonna have the Cat Bro as well as an Ignis. Oh my god, 2 OP DE, please nerf. But like seriously, they look really, really cool. The model looks fantastic. I can't wait for the Kavats as well. I kind of hope they're going to get a bit of an AI update at the same time, because Kubros are not exactly the smartest things in the world. So hopefully the Kavat introduction is going to improve that at the same time. And to be honest, they're going to be a pain in the ass to kill for anything like the Drakmasters. So it's definitely going to be cool. We all know how much the flamethrowers do as well in terms of damage, so she is going to be a very hard-hitting unit. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Really looking forward to it.
Also, don't the Grineer Kavat controllers basically, can't they also see you in stealth as well? So people who are going to be playing Loki and Ashe, I'm just kind of curious to see what kind of complaints are going to pop up when that happens.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. That was talked about on another dev stream, wasn't it? Yeah, I completely forgot that one. That's going to be interesting.
That it will be. I really like the looks of them. I feel like the old granny look that they have, I think is going to be very awesome. But one of the things that you mentioned just now is the Ignis. During the dev stream, they mentioned it was going to get a new model, it was going to get buffed, and now that it's actually in the game and if we've had time to play with it, I think this is the perfect opportunity to discuss it. You feel about the Ignis so far? I know you guys absolutely loved the Ignis before, just didn't play with it much, but how do you feel about it now? Frozen, take it away.
Mate, the original Ignis, I played with it quite some time. You know, I played with it quite a lot when it first came out. And I just love the concept of a flamethrower. I've always enjoyed flamethrowers and AoE weapons in general. And before I think Damage 2.0 came in, the Ignis wasn't a bad weapon. It was actually a pretty good weapon. And then Damage 2.0 came in. And then the Ignis basically went from being kind of mediocre to kind of worse, which is just, it was a bit mind-blowing for me as well how that actually happened, but it did. And it basically became mastery fodder for people. They would level it, get it to 30, and then throw it aside and never look at it again. And that made me sad. Honestly, it really did. So this update that has come in with the Ignis, it's a long time coming. And the changes that have come in for the Ignis have actually made it viable. It is still not a high-tier weapon, and it doesn't need to be. It is still a pretty good weapon for what it does. It is a status machine. It annihilates everything in a wide arc. And, you know, it's basically an AoE flamethrower that sets everything on fire. What's not to love about that? You can be like the pyro from TF2. You can be laughing, and you can wear your pyro glasses, and it'll be like you're firing, you know, ponies and rainbows and stuff. Who knows, you know, what goes on in the mind of a pyromaniac. You can be with whoever you want to be. But anyway, I'm digressing. Point is, weapon is amazing. Model looks absolutely gorgeous. And the new stat changes are really, really good as well.
Yeah, for the people that have missed it, by the way, I probably should have started this off. The actual changes for it has an increased heat damage base. The status chance has been increased to 25%. Magazine size was increased. The max ammo count has been increased. There's now an innate 2-meter punch-through effect on an innate multi-shot effect, and just increased range on the actual fire itself. So, lots of buffs. Actually, how do you feel about the Ignis changes as well?
I've just got flaming ponies in my head now. I'm sure DE Glenn's not going to be particularly happy with that. But I'm very, very happy with the new Ignis. When I was originally playing with it, I was sort of a little concerned. Obviously, they didn't get much of a base damage increase, so the damage output still isn't great. But actually, you know, it's actually a ton of fun. I was playing with 3 other guys last night in T3 Sabotage. All 3 of us with an Ignis. We were just stood at the portal, ready to go through, and we were just killing everything in the portal before they even came into the room, which was kind of amusing. In all honesty, it might actually be one of the first weapons to provide proper support at a high-end level, like a proper support weapon, because it's status-based and because obviously fire rate and everything affects status on the Ignis. A proper AoE support weapon, actually, I don't think we've got many of those, and in fact, I think the Ignis might be the first. So, in terms of having, like, if you're doing a really high-end run, those status procs, things like blast, things like radiation, become very, very helpful. So having something like the Ignis that can really spread those around in quite a wide area actually might be pretty useful. And I think it might be one of the first weapons to do that properly. So I have a feeling there might be an endurance run with an Ignis at some point. So we'll have to see. I genuinely think that the buffs went past straight damage and actually may have taken the Ignis into being an endgame capable weapon, but as a proper support weapon. So it could be interesting to see.
One thing I just remembered now, the Ignis also comes with innate multi-shot. Oh, 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. 1 second. Yeah, anyway, basically the Ignis came with innate multi-shot. So what that basically means is, you know, DE have already started thinking about weapon and balancing, taking into account, you know, the changes that are supposed to be coming. You know, like the multi-shot changes that are supposed to be coming in.
And cut.
And cut. So, Dimitri, what do you think about the Ignis?
I personally, to be very honest, I am not that much of a fan of flamethrowers. I prefer my guns with bullets instead of flames and things like that, and grenades. I like the grenades and the bullets more than the actual flames and like electricity and things like that. It definitely feels a lot better to use. That is for sure. It feels a lot stronger as well. I'm still probably not going to use it that much though. It's not just personally, it's not my type of weapon. I don't like it that much. But compared to the previous Ignis, oh yeah, definitely 100 times better already. It feels so much better.
And it looks awesome as well, which is absolutely I love the way it looks now. It looks so good. I was kind of hoping it was going to get like a backpack as well, but yeah, we'll see.
All right, so I've dealt with that. That was just an emergency phone call I had to deal with. I'm sorry about that. Just a quick topic I want to just mention about the Ignis itself. They've done, you know, they've given it innate multi-shot. So, you know, obviously DE are thinking about the changes that are going to be coming for multi-shot and serration, etc. So, you know, that's like obviously a step which they're definitely taking forward. So, you know, we'll see as, you know, the changes come for the weapons, as the changes come for the mods as well. We'll obviously see what they do with them. But, you know, it's interesting to notice that, you know, with all these weapons, they are already taking into consideration the removal or, you know, not necessarily fully like the removal or, you know, how a weapon would do without multi-shot as well. Because, you know, using multi-shot would basically mean, you know, based on the changes which they talked about, using multi-shot means it's actually going to use multiple rounds per shot you fire. So, you know, it uses double ammo, for example. So, you know, if it already has innate multi-shot built in, you don't actually need split chamber on top as well. So it's kind of interesting to see how that will end up working out as well.
Like, just expanding on that very slightly, it's going to be interesting to see whether that innate multi-shot is actually going to use the extra ammo like the normal multi-shot is going to do.
Yeah.
So it's potentially it could be making the Ignis more ammo inefficient when that change gets made. But to be honest, somehow I suspect it's going to have innate multi-shot but not draw any extra ammo. I sort of suspect that that's going to happen.
Fair enough. Is there anything else we want to add to the Ignis changes so far, or is that pretty much it?
That's it, really.
I think we covered that pretty well.
Yeah. All right. On to the next one. I personally don't really care for this that much, but I know, especially De Facto was excited for this one. Charge attacks are going to be returning. How do you guys feel about this? Frozen, from what you've seen so far, how do you feel about this?
I'm on the edge on this one. Unfortunately, I've seen the animations. Some of the animations I'm not really too keen on. Like, for example, the daggers one. You have to do you end up taking a couple of steps forward when you do the charge attack. What that basically means in my head, what I see is you do a charge attack, and if an enemy, if you're not actually aiming at the enemy, and if you're not using snap to enemy kind of options, then you're gonna miss, and that charge attack is basically just wasted. So you just held that sword and you charged it for however long you did, and then all that effort going into a charge attack and you missed it. So what happens in that case? Unless, of course, they give it a wide AoE so that even if you do miss it slightly, you do manage to hit it. In that case, I suppose it could work. But I personally will have to actually see them and test them before I can actually give a better judgment about how charge attacks is. Having said that, I am looking forward to charge attacks mainly because I really love the charge attacks with, say, heavy swords. Dimitri, I love heavy swords. I love the Galatine, the Cinder Prime, even the Jack Katag. I'm happy with those kind of weapons. So when the charge attacks come for those kind of weapons, I'm definitely looking forward to how that's going to end up working out.
Fair enough. Hatchel, anything you want to add to that? How do you feel about the charge attacks from what we've seen so far?
Honestly, I don't have much of an opinion on it at this point. In all honesty, I'm not a huge fan of melee in the first place. I don't think it scales anywhere near as well as it really should do. I don't like the way the combo system works. But to me, when I looked at the animations they showed on the stream, they looked kind of flashy for sure, but they look really, really slow. They look kind of really, really clunky, and when you tried to insert them into the middle of a combo, it just sort of disrupted the entire flow of things. So not only do you have the chance of missing entirely, but at those higher level where the charge attacks are really going to be what is the difference between killing and not killing, you're more than likely going to die doing it, like in the middle of the charge, especially at those higher levels. So I don't quite know how it's going to work. It's going to have to be one of those things I'm going to have to play around with when it does come out. I'm not that excited about it because, again, melee is just not something that really excites me, sadly.
Yeah, I honestly feel the same. Melee is not something that I find particularly fun to play with. From time to time, it's alright, but yeah, I personally don't feel like the charge attacks are gonna do much for me melee-wise either. I know that the people who like melee are going to absolutely love it from what I've seen. The people who don't like melee, I feel like this isn't gonna bring them over into playing with more melee weapons. One of the other things, and I know that we kind of wanted to touch on this, not too much. We can save that for another time. But there was a mag rework scheduled. We haven't heard anything about it like that. But what would you guys personally like to see from a mag rework? Now I'm kind of dropping a bomb here on you guys, so I'll go first. I personally would love to see bullet attractor reworked. I think that honestly the rest of her skills like shield, polarize, and things like that are like crush and pull are working just fine. I would personally just like to see bullet attractor changed into something more useful. How do you guys feel about this, Frozen?
I think pretty much the same as you. Because see, when I think to myself about Mag's abilities, you've got pull, which isn't affected by duration. You've got shield polarize, which isn't affected by duration. You've got crush, which isn't affected by duration unless you use the augment, in which case you use the duration. And to be honest, most people play Mag versus shielded enemies, not against Grineer. So, I mean, if you're gonna be fighting the Grineer, you take a Saryn and you just press 4 to win. You don't take a Mag. You don't even consider that. But my point is, because you've got 3 abilities which are based around efficiency and damage and not duration, bullet attractor is the odd one out here. So it definitely needs to be reworked in a way that either it fits in, or the other 3 are made so that it fits in with bullet attractor. Personally, it's easy just to change bullet attractor, so that's most likely going to be what ends up happening. But we'll see how it goes. Again, can't really talk much more about it because we don't really know much more about Mag's rework anyway. But as a personal suggestion, it's just bullet attractor that needs to be changed.
Yeah, in all honesty, I'd agree. Bullet tract is kind of the only power that needs to change. The other powers aren't really that bad at all. In all honesty, I don't think Mag actually really needs that much rework. There's nothing wrong with having a frame that is the best in the class against a certain faction or a couple of factions and not that good against the others. You don't need every frame to be good against everybody, which is kind of seems to be the way everyone seems to be thinking of things right now. I like Mag as she is. I like her as the dedicated shield killer, and I don't think she actually needs that much of a change. Bullet Attract needs to work somehow. It has no real use at any level, in all honesty. I'm not a fan of that at all. But the other thing that needs a complete rework now is Greedy Pull. That thing has been changed into complete uselessness. It is not worth using anymore. It's just, it's not close to being worth a mod slot. Because it's line of sight and everything now, it just means that, in all honesty, Carrier does it better. It does it in a very similar range. It's not affected by line of sight. So in all honesty, your best bet for Greedy Pull is Carrier. Greedy Pull needs a complete rework now because they've changed it so many times and just completely ruined it. Other than that, I think Mag is... I don't think she needs that much of a change, but we'll see what happens with her, really.
Yeah, I agree with you. I find that, honestly, Mag was on the list of frames that I didn't think that needed, changes or reworks. Like her bullet attractor could use a bit of work, yes, but I think that there are other frames out there that definitely need more work. Things like Hydroid, for example. I'm still a big fan of Hydroid, but at the moment, he's not very useful compared to some of the other frames. I don't think Mag needed the rework. Greedy Pull does, however, like you said. The first change when it was like it only worked for Mag instead of the entire team was, I think, very much justified, but don't want to go into that too much. The latest change with the line of sight completely killed Greedy Pull for me as well. I think that one needs a big change. Agreed. Up next is the Rhino rework that they were talking about. Speaking of reworks, here we go. First of all, the Rhino charge is getting like a landslide style buffs, basically like Atlas's first ability with the mechanics of it as well, like charging up on hit, things like that, increasing the duration of the charge, like the more times you hit enemies, so to speak. Iron's skin is gonna scale like frost bubble. So I think I would assume something like invulnerability for a time, which increases the amount of armor you get, or things like that. Stomped enemies are going to take increased damage from charge, which is really nice. So yeah, and combine that with the fact that the new Rhino skin with the Jet attack skin that's coming out. I think Rhino's up for a bit of even more popularity for a while. Frozen, how do you feel about this? The Rhino changes so far from what they've shown and discussed.
I've seen the Rhino changes, and to be honest, I know a lot of people give Rhino a lot of hate, and I have always said that despite him being a very noob friendly class, Rhino is pretty powerful, and this is definitely going to end up helping his cause in becoming a bit more powerful as well. With the scaling for Iron Skin, he's going to be very, very tanky. So, people say that Rhino isn't tanky compared to, some of the other frames. Maybe that's going to change now. So we'll see how that one, how the scaling works. Will it be based off armor, or will it be based off, something else? Who knows what they're going to change it on. But either way, with the changes coming to Iron Skin, he's going to be very, very tanky. And the fact that Rhino Charge is basically going to mean that you can chain it like you can do Landslide with Atlas's first ability. Just imagine that, going like a ping pong ball, bouncing from one target to the other, to the other, to the other. How much fun I'm going to have doing that? It's going to be absolutely hilarious. And best part, enemies taking extra damage when you use Stomp. So when they're suspended in midair, not being able to do anything and bouncing between from target to target, absolutely annihilating the entire population and just bringing it down to zero. I'm going to be having fun with that. I think the changes that are coming, the scaling is going to be really good for it. But I think what it's going to end up, my main concern is going to be how the damage is going to work. Like, is the Rhino Charge is it going to be based off of melee weapons like Landslide is, or is it just going to have like base stats and that's it, that you can't augment them any further? So you know what I mean, like, so if you have power strength and it only goes so far, but then with landslide you've also got melee weapon stats which are taken into account, so you can do a lot of damage through equipping something like, say, a Cinder Prime or the dual Prisma Cleavers or something like that, which has a high crit chance or high base damage, for example. So I'm curious to see how the scaling will end up working.
Fair enough. Headshot, anything you want to add to this about the Rhino changes? How do you guys feel about the skins as well? Well, we can discuss that afterwards. How do you feel about the actual changes so far, Headshot?
The changes are something that's going to be really good for Rhino. It's always been a sort of favourite among sort of newer players because the protection offered by Iron Skin, while you haven't got that much, you haven't leveled Redirection, you haven't leveled Vitality yet. So the protection offered by Iron Skin is not great, but it was enough to deal with the star map. But obviously really, really suffered from very crap scaling. Like, it didn't scale at all. So into endgame content, I mean, even with the changes to Rhino Stomp recently, with it being affected by duration and all that stuff, it just meant that he was completely overlooked apart from everything, like anything on the star map. He was just used to rush through lower level content. If his Iron Skin gets some proper scaling, like Frost's Bubble, that is going to be absolutely fantastic. He's going to be really, really tanky, and it should be very, very good. And I like the idea of the landslide buffs. I have never liked those powers being affected by the actual melee weapon damage. I think it should have its own base damage, because otherwise you end up with everyone using Cindo Primes or like just stuff with really high base damage. So it really focuses too much. It removes choice of melee weapon to try and buff that power, which I've never really liked. I think it needs its own base damage. But other than that, I think it sounds fantastic. And it sounds like it would be quite a lot of fun to play. Like, I mean, Atlas is great fun to play, so sounds like it's going to be a similar sort of playstyle.
See, one thing you just mentioned about, taking melee weapon stats into account for the scaling. I agree with you on that point, because it kind of comes back to the whole concept of pre-Parkour 2.0, where everyone would just use the fastest attack speed weapon to, copter across rooms and teleport from one side to the other. And melee selection wasn't more about how much damage you could do or whatever weapon you had fun doing, but more about, which would send you flying across the room faster. I think the problem was, or rather the problem in this case is the scaling as well as how it works. So I think with the changes, this kind of does tie back to the previous topic about, the changes that are coming to multi-shot and Saryn, because Scott did mention that, with the weapon and mod rebalancing, enemies are going to be rebalanced as well accordingly to take into that account. So I'm kind of curious to see, and, I'm interested to see how that balance will end up affecting these abilities as well, because it all kind of ties in, doesn't it? So it all has to kind of fit in together like a mesh. Otherwise, you pull one string apart and the whole thing just falls down. It's like a house of cards. So it has to be dealt with very, very delicately, but it needs to be done with precision as well. So we'll see how it goes.
The changes to these frames, we do not know as a community what is coming down the line in terms of the rebalancing of scaling, the rebalancing of weapons. So in all honesty, it's very hard for us to comment on these sorts of things when you have that sort of stuff in mind, because DE have their own in-house stuff that they don't necessarily let on. Although they're very forward with everything that we are told, there's still a whole bunch of stuff that we don't actually know specifics of. So every single one of these is going to be based off of their plan down the road, even though we don't know what that plan is. So it's one of those things that we can say as it is now, but like further down the road, we don't necessarily know what's going to be coming.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of things that we don't know what's coming. However, and I'm going to smoothly tie this into the next subject, what we do know is coming, however, is the Saryn rework. Now, this one is a pretty big one. For those of the people who have missed it during the last dev stream, Saryn's Venom is now going to be castable on Mold to spread the damage from it. Miasma is going to take every second now. Venom and Contagion procs are going to be, you can be able to combo them together. Venom's pods are gonna burst through contagion to cause procs as well. Miasma is gonna cause even greater damage to enemies that have status effect on them. And Saryn's getting a hidden passive, a passive as well, where the status effects that she applies will last 25% longer. Basically the idea is for her skills to combine together, that they're gonna synergize with each other. So I'm personally really excited for it. I personally still love my press for to win Saryn as well, but these changes are very interesting as well. So I think Headshot, do you have anything to say about this? I know that we had a discussion on this earlier, like before stream a couple of days ago as well. But how do you feel about the Saryn rework so far from what you've seen?
I don't know a huge amount. I to be honest, in the dev stream, I kind of got a little bit lost with all the relationship between all the powers. I don't know. I've never been a fan of Saryn. At the moment, she is just press force to obliterate everything in the room. For me, she's actually not that fun to play. The only time I ever use her is if I'm running through the void, doing low level exterminates and just wanting to get things done in all of a minute. So in terms of that, then the greater interaction between her skills is always a good thing. I love having power synergy because it just makes things so much more interactive, a lot more fun to play, and it reduces because anyone can run through and press 4, but to get the maximum amount of damage out of Saryn after the rework, it's going to require some actual player skill to be able to do it, and bringing player skill into things is something that is always a great thing to do. And I am looking forward to having Saryn as an option that I might enjoy playing, in all honesty. The changes do appeal to me, and yeah, I reckon she's going to be quite a lot of fun to play once it's done.
Fair enough, Frozen.
In terms of Saryn, I really love the idea, the concept which they've taken forward of power interaction. One of the biggest issues I've had with Warframe, especially coming from a Mass Effect background, where when you played Mass Effect 1, you had biotic powers combining together to do biotic detonations, right? In the second one, it was the same. In the third one, what they did is they took this a step forward, where you could use biotic detonations or primers to fire off tech combos as well, and vice versa. So you had cross interaction, so to speak, of different abilities, which is good because it didn't do the same amount of damage as say like a pure biotic detonation, but you could detonate tech abilities using biotic primers as well, which is a good thing. There's this power interaction going on. I would have loved to see this kind of power interaction happen with the different elements that we have. So we've got all these different elements, and we can we have no interactions with them. So say for example, a frost fires like his first ability, he fires a freeze at an enemy. He freezes the target. If an ember fires a fireball on it, it should explode because it should combine together to form a blast proc. So it should explode, and it should get knocked down or something like that. Basically, these kind of power interactions should be really, really good. And this is basically a step in the right direction, taking it forward by slowly starting off with Warframe ability interaction with each other. So perhaps maybe the next step might be where like different Warframes, their powers interact with other Warframes, and those combinations result in more fancy stuff. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. In terms of the miasma changes and the overall changes, I think this is going to shift Saryn's rework in the completely opposite direction, where people currently go for a negative duration build with the Chloro helmet and just going negative duration just for miasma to have all those ticks hit in like half a second or something for maxed out damage. You actually will have to end up going with a duration build now. Using a duration build will mean you have the status procs which you apply from say Venom or your Molt lasting longer, Contagion lasting longer, so you can actually use it effectively as well. So I think this is basically a kind of a good shift in the right direction, again, because when I played Saryn, I pressed 4 to win. That's it. Never done anything else. Maybe I would occasionally press 2 to remove some of the maggots on my Saryn, or if I was taking too much damage and I needed a quick heal. But with the changes that are coming now, I'm going to be able to use all 4 abilities effectively, which is good, which is definitely a step in the right direction.
Yes, I agree. I personally really love the press for the win build, as it's called. I know a lot of people have issues with it when they say like, oh my god, someone just you press 4 and you win and there's no gameplay. I personally still like it. I understand the problem with it. It kind of it kills the enjoyment for the other people in the group as well, because all you do is press 4 and you win. So I'm personally really excited. I personally still like playing Saryn. I'm excited to see the changes. I'm kind of gonna miss the old press 4 to win thing though, but I think the abilities synergizing together is more than gonna make up for it. So I'm excited. I'm excited as well. All right, up next on the list is the Rhino skin that we mentioned previously, along with the Jatka tag skin. How do you guys feel about that? Frozen, I know you like all things graphical
Rhino.
and things like that, visual. How do you feel about it?
Mate, like I said on Twitter, and like I said to you guys earlier on, when I saw that Rhino skin, it reminded me of Sundowner, and that is just enough for me to get that skin. It looks absolutely gorgeous, and this is just going to slightly divert from the topic we're talking about, but just looking at the other skins as well, what I've noticed is they've kind of started moving slightly away from the idea that it's an armor and more towards the whole cloth side of it as well. So like it looks like it's like it's wearing like a jumper or a shirt or something like that. It's looking a bit more humanoid with the right word. I don't know if that would be the right word to describe what I mean, but I'm guessing you know what I mean. I hope you do.
It feels like instead of just changing the design of the Warframe, it changes the design of the skin, is I think what you're trying to convey. It feels like an actual skin instead of just a different type of the same Warframe almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really looking forward to the skin as well. It looks beautiful.
And the Rhino skin definitely looks good, and the hammer skin for the Jatka tag, I think it's so perfect. It's a kitty smasher. That's what it is. It's got a face of a cat on it, and you can just smash people's head. All I can think of is just like this chibi Rhino running around, just smashing everything one by one, and then there's just some next level 8-bit music running on in the background, maybe something out of Mario or something like that, and it's just running around and just smashing and moving forward. That's all I can think of.
Fair enough. Headshot, anything you want to add how you feel about the Rhino skin and the Jatka tag skins?
I've just got Frozen's idea of Warframes wearing jumpers in my head. That looks amazing to me. Just having a cardigan or something. Warframe gets cold, put a cardigan on. But yeah, I really, really want that Rhino skin so badly. But the thing is, the great thing about these things is they are fantastic. They're really, really high quality, but it also allows individuality. So if you prefer the old Rhino, you can go with the old Rhino. If you prefer the new shiny skin, you go with that. And that's fantastic, because it's only better it's better for everybody, really, because DE make money from it. I mean, they are a company, they make money. I mean, that's just the thing. But we also get these amazing skins. We get to play fashion frame. We can make our frames as individual as we want. We can recolor them. We can reskin them. It's win-win for basically everybody, really. And I like to think that the idea of this, so far all of the skins that come in have got a little bit of a lore background behind them. And I like to think that Rhino, it was he was a guard, wasn't he? Like a temple guard type skin. And I like the idea of maybe that's going to be tied into, the lore of the Tenno, that they were temple guards. I mean, there's a little bit in the Stalker's Codex about this sort of temple area. So potentially Rhino being a temple guard actually would fit into the lore really nicely. So I love that idea. Plus anything for the Jatka tag. I mean, I love the Jatka tag, but wow, that skin looks incredible. It means I can send things to the moon. I love that idea.
I agree, and I really want to see more skins with lore as well. We have the Pre-Corpus Valkyrie one as well. Like, just as much as it's even like a tiny little bit of lore, it just adds just that much more worth to a skin. I would almost like to say it makes that feel just like that a little bit more special. So, I really looking forward to it. Now, on the topic of skins, one of the big things mentioned during this dev stream, and I know you two were really excited for this when we were watching the dev stream, it was basically like two children opening presents on Christmas Eve. The Steam Workshop making skins. Frozen, I'm gonna let you take it away because you're a graphics artist as well. I know that you are really excited for this one as well. So how do you feel about it, and what are you looking forward to doing with it?
Dimitri, you've seen a picture of me, right? Imagine that person in a candy shop. That's basically me when it comes to the Steam Workshop. I have been looking forward to this for a very long time. When I was playing in closed beta, I sent Steve a message on the forums, like a private message asking, will you ever do Steam Workshop or Steam integration in terms of, development stuff, kind of, because that was interesting for me. And he said to me, maybe it might happen sometime down the line. Who knows? It was kind of like, yes, it could happen. No, it couldn't happen. Who knows? That was enough to put hope in my heart. And you know what? A few years down the line, it's happened. Steam Workshop is here, even though it's only just skins right now. It's put the biggest smile on my face. When I watched that dev stream, it's kind of like, when you lose focus on everything else either becomes silent and you just see people talking and everything, and you have like the epiphany, and you can just hear the sounds of angels in your ears going, oh, it's kind of like that. That's how it was for me when I saw, Steam Workshop is coming to Warframe. Right now, as they've mentioned, it is going to be only on Steam, and that it's only going to be skins for certain weapons and certain Warframes, and the fact that people can actually create their own Ciandanas. I think that in itself is amazing, that DE have actually taken this step forward where they're actually going to let people create content. I mean, they did this already, in the past with the Tenno Gen contest. And I think they probably saw the success of the Tenno Gen contest and the fact that, the community has so much to offer in terms of content creation that it might actually be beneficial for DE to, take that step forward and, make it part of Warframe as well. So I am definitely looking forward to actually creating some content. Right now, it's just skins for most of the stuff. So, people who are good with textures, who are good with Photoshop. I urge you guys, seriously, check out the Steam Workshop. Make sure you either vote for the skins or at the very least, learn Photoshop and learn how texturing works or whatever. Because if you've got the skills, put that to good use. And, you can also make some money off of it as well. So it's definitely a win-win situation for you and DE as well. And, I personally am, a massive advocate for mods and anything which allows you to mod stuff. I used to mod for a game called Freelancer. I was part of the development team for like two and a half years. So, in terms of when it comes to modding, I absolutely love that. So, obviously the selection is a bit small right now. The selection will obviously increase as time progresses and DE sees how the Steam Workshop experiment, so to speak, just works, or how successful or how unsuccessful it will be. Obviously, at the same time, we also have seen a few skins that are already out. Some of them are good, some of them are based on pop culture references, some of them are just memes, and that's to be expected. That happens everywhere. But I'm guessing once the dust settles, the good artists, the good content is going to come out. We're going to see some really, really good art, and we're going to see some really, really good content coming out from people. And hopefully, I will be able to contribute as well and make some good skins as well for weapons and Warframes, or maybe, like a 3D model for something different, just to replace something. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
So with a bit of luck, we can look forward to having our own Frozen Ball Ciandana in the future. All right, then. Headshot.
If that Ciandana happens, it's going to be Frost exclusive.
Fair enough. Headshot, how do you feel about the Steam Workshop so far? Is there anything
Honestly,
you want to add? How do you personally feel?
Yeah, I'm pretty, I'm not an artistic person. I don't do that sort of thing. But the thing is, I mean, just look at the art that Obris has done for us today. And just think, how much talent this community has to offer. You just go to the forums and you look at some of the fan designs, and there's such an untapped mine of absolutely incredible content out there that just would be stupid not to take advantage of that. I mean, some of the stuff we've seen coming out, obviously, DE reserve the right to not use some of or whatever. If it's really, really stupid but gets voted really highly, like the Doge Lizette sort of thing, will get voted really, really highly, but DE are going to go no. So, I mean, people don't have to worry about like stupid pop culture references ending up making it into the game. But some of the skins I've seen are absolutely incredible and would get my platinum immediately as soon as they come out. Absolutely immediately. There's just too much talent in this community to not take advantage of it, and I really, really look forward to seeing some of their work in game, and they will definitely get some platinum from me.
Yeah, agreed. I personally myself have the artistic creativity of a wet paper bag flying through the wind, but I'm gonna definitely be looking at the Steam Workshop and just hoping that some of the skins I'm gonna be voting, things like that as well. I really want to see what kind of things people can make. I personally can't make anything, so I'll just be using it and looking at it, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. On that note though, Frozen, is there anything you want to share so far with stream, with the podcast itself, that you're working on already or thinking of working on, or nothing yet?
There is one Dana I'm actually working on right now. I'm actually in the concepting stage. It is specifically for Mesa. As people know, I really do love Mesa, and it is a poncho which I'm working for right now. I hope to have some images and everything uploaded either most likely next week, because I've got family, so I'm going to be busy this week, but I will definitely be looking forward to completing that and slapping that up, so we'll see how that one goes. But I'm not going to say any more. I don't want to spoil any more. I've already spoiled as much as I should have, but I'm kind of excited to taking that forward, and we'll see how it goes.
Fair enough. Hey, maybe at one point we can even have a Suddenly Tenno Dana out there. Who knows?
Hey.
All right, then. Is there anything else we want to add to the Steam Workshop that we want to discuss? I personally think we've said most of what we want to say, but in any case, if there's anything you want to say, go right ahead.
No, it's everything from me pretty much for that.
All right, fair enough. In that case, one of the other things that they mentioned in the dev stream was the Windows 10 compatibility, like the cross-platform playing between the Xbox One and the PC versions of the game. They basically said that is not going to work out because of the entire certificate system. So just as a heads up out there for the people who haven't heard it yet, it is almost definitely not going to happen. We have the certificate system to blame for that one, I would say. Umbra frames, things like that. Excalibur Umbra, is it a skin? Is it a frame? We don't know actually, do we? No.
I think Steve has let on that it is a frame rather than just a skin. So, and that the Umbras will be individual frames rather than just skins for other frames. So I'm expecting side grades of some sort. Whether, how that's going to work, I'm not entirely sure.
I guess it's just one of those cases where we
don't have enough information.
Some information, yet we don't have enough specific information to talk about the topic in detail. So yeah, that's what it really comes down to. I mean, the only thing which they said was something vague about Umbra being like the dark side of the Tenno. So it's basically like Star Wars. You've got the dark side and the light side of the Force, except in this case, it's like you've got the Prime Tenno and then you've got the Umbra Tenno. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'll just leave it there and let people wallow over that for a while.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything more to say than that. On to the next one, though. The Stalker Quest. Now, Headshot, I know, like, you and me both love lore. I think all of us here actually love lore, but you especially were pretty excited about that one, the Stalker Quest, and tying into that as well, the second Dream Quest. Basically, for what D has said is they haven't actually let on what it's going to be about, but there's going to be things like motion capture, cinematics. It will even make toast for you, according to the developers. We're not so sure about that one yet, but who knows? But yeah, Headshot, is there anything you want to talk about that? How do you feel about the, Stalker Quest? Any speculations you have on it as well?
I like toast.
All right.
But no, seriously. Pretty much, like, the thing is, Warframe has always suffered from sort of a lack of lore. we've from the second Dream Quest, it's pretty much going to be from what I understand, it's going to almost be the sort of genesis of the Tenno. We're going to find out what the Tenno are. We're going to find out what's inside the suit, whether it's human or not. Plus, we're also, from the sounds of it, we're also going to find out sort of maybe a little bit about why Stalker is. Maybe it's an expansion on his lore that you can already find in the Codex. So it's going to definitely be interesting. I am super, super hyped for cinematics. I can't wait for that. It's going to be absolutely incredible. This is probably going to make update 18 for me. This is just the best thing, and something we've been hoping for a long, long time. So yeah,
Speaking of the Stalker quest, have you seen the teasers that Steve's been dropping on Twitter as well?
Yes.
Mate, every time he posts a spoiler like that or a teaser like that, oh my god, it gets me going.
I know.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Same here.
I know that feeling, right?
It looks gorgeous, and it just makes me more and more, impatient, waiting for update 18 to drop, because I can't wait for that lore bomb to drop. I want to know more information about what exactly is going on, because so far we've either had nothing really said, or nothing been said, yes, this is true, this is not true, or it's been kind of just kind of ignored or thrown or shoved under the rug. Basically, any information or lore that we have for most of the part is basically stuff which we as the community have kind of inferred, I suppose. It's not like DE have gone outright and said, yeah, all right, that's that. You're right, you're wrong. They've just been like, yeah, okay. And they just, put their hands in their pockets and go for a stroll, whistling away. And with this introduction of this quest, we're going to get some of that lore. And I'm definitely looking forward to that. Plus, Stalker, my buddy, I'm looking forward to playing with him and killing some Tenno. I mean, what?
Wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. At this point in time, especially with the Stalker quest, I am really excited for the reveal that Stalker is actually Frozen's son, and that they've been training together. But yeah, the Stalker quest, I'm really excited for it as well. When I started playing 11, 12 months ago or something, I'm really into lore in games. I absolutely love good storytelling and world building. But one of the first things that I noticed when I started playing Warframe was there is lore, there is world building, but it's all very vague and what's going on? What are we fighting? What are we doing? What's going on? And I'm really excited for it. As soon as I heard that we were getting a big quest in update 18, I was excited. I am very much looking forward to it. That is definitely going to be the main thing for me in update 18. New frame maybe coming out, things like that. Buffs for weapons, new weapons. It's fun in games and everything, but the main thing for me is going to be Stalker quest, just lore in general. I'm really, really, really looking forward to it.
So it should be good.
There's one aspect we forgot though. The moon.
Oh yes, the moon.
The moon base. Oh, I'm so hyped for that. It looks incredible. From the art that they teased, I am super hyped for that. It looks incredible. And that's sort of why I think it's going to tie into the Stalker lore, because it sort of mentions a ceremonial hall. And from the screenshots that we've already been shown by DE, they definitely show what looked like a ceremonial hall. So I'm hoping that's where it's all going to tie in, and I'm super hyped for that.
One thing which I would just like to bring up is when the last dev stream, I wish I was a dev. In the last podcast, how we were talking about feeling disconnected. When you play Warframe, you just feel like you're just doing missions for the sake of doing missions just to collect loot or whatever. I'm hoping that this introduction of this major quest will tie in the plot lines together, and there will be more immersion and interaction with the actual factions and understanding of what's actually going on, why the Tenno do what they do, why Lotus does what she does, why the Stalker is, pissed off at everyone and he's sitting with a shotgun on his lawn and telling people to get off it. So, we'll see how all of that goes, and I'm definitely hoping that it takes that immersion factor a step further and helps us understand the storyline as well of the game, because I'm definitely a lore buff, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people who play this game are as well. So rewarding people for completing the storyline or for finding bits of information and stuff like that. Looking forward to that.
Yep. And also, going back on what Hatchel just said a minute ago, like it's still floating in my mind with the Orchid Moon. I don't know if did we discuss that during last podcast, or was that during one of the streams where we basically talk about a Lotus raid and things like that. Pretty sure it was during one of the streams.
I know.
Anyway,
I know we're going to meet the Lotus at some point, is what they said. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll see.
One of the things that I didn't like, it's just throwing wild ideas out there, but one of the things I would personally be very interested in is if there was like a raid on the Orchid Moon, basically, where, it turns out the Lotus is hiding on the moon. Go defend her from the sentients that are attacking her, things like that. I'm really excited to see what they're... I'm especially, like myself, a big fan of the Lotus and the entire idea of, what the Lotus is to the Tenno and things like that. I'm really looking forward to meeting the Lotus as well and seeing what, what's going on? Who are you? What's going on actually here? I want to know things. I want to know more.
I have to admit,
I need my lore.
Yeah, I was so hyped about the second dream and the possibility of tying in with the store because I completely forgot the sentients existed. If I'm honest, I completely forgot they existed. I was so hyped for this that I just completely forgot that they might be coming as well.
I guess, if you forgot about one of the major enemies that's coming, I think that puts in perspective how exactly hyped you are about this.
I think it does. I am super hyped for this. I have always loved... I play so many games for their stories. It's just something I've always enjoyed. I've come from a 40k background as well, so storyline is very much driven and all that sort of stuff. And I just play games a lot for story. And that is one thing that Warframe has always been sadly lacking. And it's finally going to have everything tied together in this one incredible quest. I am so hyped for this thing.
Yeah, exactly. I feel exactly the same way. I play most of my games as well for the story, whether it's from, JRPGs to things like The Elder Scrolls or even Dungeons and Dragons with friends. I absolutely love games with good stories, and I felt like Warframe does lack a bit in that department, but they're working on it. It's going to be changing. Update 18. That's when the new quest is coming. I am really excited for it. So, all right. One of the other things, Halloween stuff. They mentioned something about that real quick. They're going to be working on, I think, more skins. It's going to be some of them spooky, some of them, funny. I think there's not too much to say about it. We haven't seen any of it yet, so. Yeah. Other than that, the Warframe app is coming out soon. Is that out yet? I personally don't use my phone ever, so I wouldn't know if it's out yet or not.
I don't think so.
I don't think so
either.
I think when it comes out, they'll definitely make an announcement on the forums as well. So even if you don't use a phone or you don't use a smartphone or whatever, you'll still realize it, because it'll go live. And I'm pretty sure people will make a noise on Reddit as well. So
Yeah, no, exactly. Personally, honestly, that app might be one of the reasons using my phone from now on. Though I don't go outside very often, but if I ever do, then I still want to build my format, damn it. All right. Also, just as a heads up again, guys, next podcast we want to do a bit of a Q&A session, so to speak. So if you have any questions for us, don't be afraid to ask them in chat. We're writing them down as we see them in chat. At least I am. If you're watching it on YouTube, on Headshots or Frozen channel, make sure leave us a comment with your questions in there as well. We're looking forward to it. Even ask us, on Twitter. It should be on the screen and everything as well. Don't be afraid to ask any questions. We'll happily answer them. We're looking forward to that. So yeah, want to see what you guys have as questions for us, and we'll be answering those in the next podcast. So there you go. Is there anything else we want to do or say? I think that is mostly it. We've been going for over an hour already, so.
I think we're pretty much done ready, to be honest. I think we've covered all the bases pretty well.
It pretty much covers everything, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. So in that case, guys, remember Q&A, ask it in chat, leave it in the YouTube comments. I'm Dimitri2. Thank you very much for watching Suddenly Tenno episode 3, no revives necessary. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We sure as hell did, at least I did. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I shall see you in the next one.
All right, guys, thank you very much for joining the stream today. This was the podcast for episode number 3 for Suddenly Tenno. We are going to be wrapping it up. We are pretty much done with the actual podcast as well for now because, I actually need to head off as well myself. Again, thank you very much for joining, guys. And just as a quick update, any Q&A questions you have, feel free to drop them in either Dimitri or Headshots YouTube video when they upload them. Any questions you guys ask, the good questions will be taken forward, and we'll try and answer them on the next dev stream. And I wish I was a dev next podcast. And if you can't post them on YouTube or whatever, you can always take it forward, and you can ask those questions on Twitter as well. Either Dimitri, Headshot, or me, any of us. It works in the same way. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. And I will see you next time, guys.